I'm Clinton Griffiths. Happening today, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office is holding its second of two hearings about a proposal that could impact farmers' bottom lines. A plan that could impose fees of up to $1.5 million on Chinese-linked vessels that dock at U.S. ports. Now, we first told you about this last week. The move is aimed at curbing China's dominance in shipbuilding, with American Farm Bureau Federation economists saying the added fees could add between $327 million and $930 million in annual transportation costs for bulk ag exporters, warning such increases would make U.S. products less competitive on the global market, and that most of the costs would be passed back to farmers via lower prices or widened basis levels.
For a grower in the Central Valley, to have to spend another $500 to $1,000 to truck their cargo down to Los Angeles or Long Beach, get on a vessel and move out to Asia, maybe the price for that product, think of a walnut handler as an example, gets too high on a per unit basis, and suddenly they're competing with other growing nations.
Now, ag industry leaders say it will take time for the U.S. shipbuilding industry to build the needed capacity to compete with China, and increasing freight costs could place a burden on variety meat exports, adding about $40 per steer or heifer slaughtered and $10 per hog.
Anything that would increase freight costs ultimately would be a concern. And I think it's particularly a concern on some of our lower value items. You look at pork and beef variety meats, for example, that might be worth $2 a pound, $1 a pound, or even less than $1 a pound. If you're looking at a significant per pound freight rate increase of any kind, that would be a real challenge for some of the lower value items, maybe even to the point where it wouldn't make sense to save them and export them.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, speaking with AgriTalk this week, also calling attention to the issue.
The president is just creating a problem every time a ship docks in the United States, putting up to $1 million cost on it. Is going to make it much more difficult for us from a competitive standpoint. I don't know whether they think this stuff through or not.
During a public hearing earlier this week, a soybean farmer from Greensburg, Indiana, and a member of the American Soybean Association spoke out saying, quote, imposing port fees on most of the maritime fleet that exports from and imports to the U.S. will increase costs for U.S. farmers, both in terms of inputs like fertilizer, seed, etc., and getting crops to market. At the same time, our competitors in Brazil and Argentina will not be subject to the same regulations. While well-intended, this proposal would ensure U.S. soybeans will bear higher costs and be less competitive in the global marketplace, end quote. Right now, China currently controls more than 5,500 commercial vessels, while the U.S. has about 100.